Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another episode of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Krentzman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks, as always. Very nicely done.
Oh, thank you.
I can sense some passion today. You're excited.
A lot of stuff to be excited about.
Yes, there is. From the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey, this is the Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast brought to you by our good friends at the Bamboozle Project and Allied Construction and Roofing. So if you're following the video feed, you can see both of their web addresses come across your screen. We encourage you to check them out. And when you do check them out and contact them, do us a favor and tell them that Mind Your Puckin' Business sent you there. This is episode number 88 on the Spanish dial today, 88. I thought that's a fun number. I'm going to say it again, 88. As I learned Spanish through hosting this show, the episode number 88, which I would double sevens are kind of good luck. I always like double eights good luck.
Yeah,
how does it work?
Sure. I like it.
We're going to say
Why not?
Why not? We'll use the luck. We'll take what we can get. You can send your questions anytime to mypbshow@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Instagram. And literally about 5 minutes before we went on the air, I just had 2 questions come in for our guest via DM. So we'll get to that in a couple minutes. You can listen to the show, as always, on a variety of different platforms. Of course, there's Spotify and iTunes. But if you choose to watch video feeds of us, and you can see us both decked out in Ranger jerseys for the occasion today, you can do that on both Facebook and YouTube.
Yeah.
Right?
We are everywhere.
And I should mention that with Bamboozle Project.
Yes.
Yesterday, I know there was a big order placed on Bamboozle by someone on of MYPB gear.
Yes. Big order.
Now, I don't know. I have no way of knowing this. I don't know if you know. I hope they use the promo code, because 25% off using promo code MYPB would have been a pretty good deal.
And you know what else is in stock?
What?
The winter hats.
Yes.
Fresh stock of winter hats. Get them early. They're a hot commodity.
The winter hat, I have said it before. I'm going to say it again. It is the most comfortable winter hat ever. And the people I know that have it agree with me. I don't know what they use at the Bamboozle Project on a cold winter day, but the MYPB hats that fly off the shelf for the winter, I would get them now, because it is good stuff. So we are taping this episode today. If you're watching it live, or if you're on replay, it is opening day for the Rangers, Tuesday, October 11th. And my son, I've been up so early. I slept less, I think, last night than any night in my life, which makes no sense, because there's no reason to do that for opening day. I'm stupid. And
so excited. So excited.
Either that, or I just can go back to bed for some reason. But I went in this morning to my son's room, who was amped up at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I figured out that it is exactly, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Ranger season ended in Game 6 exactly 4 months ago today. I think it ended on Saturday, June 11th, if I'm pretty positive I'm right on that. So there's been a 4-month gap, a third of the year without Ranger hockey, and that returns tonight. Now,
that's not bad.
No.
4 months, not bad.
4 months is not bad, but remember, the Ranger fans got a little bit, but we played late into the playoffs. True. If you don't make the playoffs, or you're out in the first round, it's a different story. But whatever sport you follow, or whatever sports you follow, whatever you're passionate about, it is always so exciting opening day, right? If it's going to Yankee Stadium or Citi Field, if you're a baseball fan. I don't know if you're a football fan. People go to games that much anymore. But, just waking up and knowing that on this day, your team is going to play a meaningful game when you've been waiting for the preseason to just be over. And the NHL preseason is awful, right? Because you just almost pray that your stars in the few games that they play don't get hurt. And unfortunately for the Rangers now, it sounds like Sammy Blais is going to be out for a little while. I wouldn't say he's a star, but it's just happy to see preseason over. A couple people wrote in over the last couple days, really, and I was shocked at this, complaining about the Ranger preseason. I would say, I don't want to say targeting certain players on the Rangers that looked bad in preseason, which I will admit they didn't look great. Vincent Trocheck would be the one that we were getting comments about. But I don't know that I'm going to sit here and really read into it, because I don't really believe that Vincent Trocheck is playing his whole preseason with the line mates he's going to have in the regular season, which we'll see tonight at Madison Square Garden. So I'm not, like, these people want to go nuts about preseason. For me, let's just be happy it's over. The only casualty that came out of it is Sammy Blaze, and it doesn't sound like he's going to be out that long, although he won't play tonight. Let's just get on with it and move on and forget about preseason. You fine with that?
I'm fine with that. I mean, preseason's fun because you can pretty much do whatever you want when you go to the game. You know, you can get close, you can get in the box. Like, it's fun. It's fun, but like, don't take it serious. Don't put money on it. But I do have a question. Yes. I have a question for you and maybe even the people out in the universe over here. Up? So, like, I like to hoot and holler at the TV. Pregnant wife's not going to like that. Is there a Ranger bar or restaurant where I can go with fellow hooter and hollerers
in Bergen County?
And is there a Ranger bar around here? So, question for you guys out there, or
the only one that I can think of now. So the Rangers do like official viewing parties, like they'll put it on their social media, but it's always in the city. It's never. It's either Stout on 33rd Street or a couple bars that are around there. I've never been to them, and it looks cool. They even did an outdoor one in the playoffs in Central Park, which was actually, again, I haven't gone to them, but they look cool. In Bergen County, if you listen to us in this area, the only place that comes to mind for some reason, and I've never been, is Tommy Fox's in Bergenfield.
All right,
but I don't know. So how about this? If you don't go out tonight or this week, because they do play on Thursday and Saturday and then Monday again. Just don't scream too loud for the pregnant wife.
Yeah, true.
You got it?
You got it.
Cool. All right, so Ranger opening day. We're going to do a lot of Ranger stuff. We obviously have the NFL picks. We had another winning week, 4 winning weeks, 1 losing week. We are on fire to open the 2022 campaign like we were the last 2 years. We've always done this. We've always had winning seasons for some reason. Maybe we're in the wrong business. We'll get to the NFL picks after, but we are going to lead in with the Rangers right away. So we're going to bring in, I had mentioned a couple weeks ago, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago, that I was on a podcast that I love, Rangers Ed. I've talked about him here before, and we did kind of like a preseason season preview show with them. And as I've mentioned, there's a bunch of different Eds. One of them is traveling. One of them is stuck at work. So we have one of them today, and the one that we have is Cousin Ed, and we can bring him in. There we go. What's up, Cousin Ed?
Good morning. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
We are excited for you to be here. We're going to put across the screen right now, I believe, momentarily, for those following the video feed to check you guys out. That is at Rangers_ed.pod. Now, I listen to them. What I do, everyone has their own ways they listen to podcasts, but I will put them on when I see a new episode is out in my car. Like, I'll put it on Bluetooth in my car. And what I like about their show, and I've told you guys this, and this is what you will like also, and I trust me, you will like this podcast, is not only are they really knowledgeable on their Rangers, but the banter that they have back and forth and kind of like the inside jokes, they all know each other, is very, very good. It's kind of like it's also entertaining and knowledgeable. I actually like it a lot. So you guys keep up the good work when you're not all traveling, apparently, on opening week. I don't know how that happened, Cousin Ed.
Thanks, man. Yeah, so, Little Ed. So the three of us, we're all related. So my cousin is Little Ed and my uncle is Coach Ed. Little Ed's got a wedding in Europe, so he's frolicking around Europe right now, so he couldn't make it on. And Coach Ed obviously is stuck at work. So thanks for having me on, though.
Well, we're happy for you to be here, and we are loaded with questions for you to start. So I don't know if you saw, I think you might have. I said something 2 weeks ago. I didn't think it was that important. I really didn't even think it almost slipped into the show notes right before we went live that I did not want Jimmy Vesey on the team. Everyone on social media and the comments it would set off like World War VIII. I'm not sure why. I still don't understand why Jimmy Vesey is bringing this much, what do I want to say, passion to the discussion of the 2022 Rangers. But anyway, over the weekend, it was decided, and I don't think it was a surprise because he did have a good preseason, that Jimmy Vesey makes the team. Were you happy with it? Do you care about it? Where do you fall in the Jimmy Vesey spectrum?
So I think Jimmy Vesey can be a useful player. I don't really have a problem with Jimmy Vesey. I think a lot of fans might have a problem with Vesey because of his prior tenure here. He came in with a lot of fanfare, and I think he kind of underperformed. He did almost have 20 goals a few times, so he has a little bit of a scoring touch. Recently, he's developed into, a bottom sixer and a decent penalty killer. He's depth. He comes in at the league. I don't have a problem with that. If that's Dryden Hunt, if that's Jimmy Vesey, that spot to me, it doesn't really matter. My issue is I have a feeling that Gallant is going to fall in love with Jimmy Vesey, and we'll be seeing him with Artemi Panarin, and we'll be seeing him with Mika Zibanejad. And that's what I don't want. So, if Jimmy Vesey was signed to play a fourth line role and 13th forward, move in and out with Ryan Reeves and penalty kill. I got no problem with it. No problem with it. But if he starts moving up, that's, that becomes problematic to me because it takes a spot away from Kravtsov or Kako.
That right there was my argument 2 weeks ago, was that if he's going to take a spot from someone who has a more long-term potential and is younger, I don't want that. If I could be told Jimmy Vesey will never leave the fourth line and he'll be a penalty killer and he'll put in maybe 4 or 5 goals the entire season, I'm fine with that at the league minimum at 800,000. I'm fine. But you're right. Gallant, it's just and I got the same feeling as you, and we didn't rehearse that, you and I. So speaking of that, that's a great answer for a segue for a question that I had submitted for you literally right before we went live. I'm going to read it verbatim. Do you find it concerning how Gerard Gallant handled veteran bias in the preseason and wasted times for top lines that could have been used for them to gel? Did we really think Sammy Blaze, Goodrow, or Vesey were going to be better in the top 6 than Kako or Kravtsov would be?
I think that's a good question. I personally don't put a lot of stock in preseason for veteran players. I heard you mention some fans were worried about Trocheck. I don't worry about Trocheck in the preseason. I want to see, the young guys and the bubble players get opportunities, and I think that's what Gallant was doing. So I get the hysteria with putting VC on the first line and power play time, but VC's on a PTO. They're putting him in a position to go and make the team, go do something. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be in a top 6 role in the regular season. That's where there's a problem for me. So I think in the preseason, you got guys moving in and out of the lineup. Putting guys in the top 6 who are bubble players or younger players fighting for a spot is normal. And I actually think it's a good thing because it gives them a chance to perform. So I think that, just as a fan, I would take a step back with the preseason. It's really not that big of a deal.
Okay. All right. Another question that came in, which is another good question from the same individual who sent it in. And this is another thing that I agree completely with this question because I'm reading it now and I've said this on the show. What does Lafreniere have to do to get a shot at the top line left wing? I know that everyone points to Kreider's 52 goals, but only 20 of them came on 5-on-5 to Lafreniere's 18 in 100 less minutes of ice times with lesser line mates. Not to mention that Kreider's skills are not tied to a side the way that Lafreniere's skills are. So is there any chance at any point Lafreniere gets off the third line and finally gets to see top 6 minutes?
Yeah, I think I cut out there for a second. Sorry about that. But I think there is a chance Lafreniere goes up into that first. I think there is a chance Lafreniere does go into that first line left wing spot. I think he and Kreider, look, I for anyone that's played hockey, it's the only difficult part of switching from left wing to right wing is breaking out of the defensive zone because you're on your backhand, right? So, if you're worried about Kreider or Lafreniere, accepting a pass on the backhand and getting out, these are NHL players. They should be able to catch a pass on the backhand, Do I think Gallant's going to do it? I don't know. I mean, he kind of likes that play of Mika driving down the right and Kreider driving down the left, and they crash the net together on a rush. I don't really see Lafreniere getting a lot of time on the right wing. I just think it would have happened already. So I think there is a small chance that Lafreniere will become the first line left wing and Kreider will shift to right wing. But I think that will also depend on whether Kravtsov struggles and Kako struggles to start the year. So I think it's a little bit dependent on how the top 6 right wingers perform early. But I do think he's probably first to move up into those spots.
On the Kako and Kravtsov front, it's amazing. I can't remember going into a season where you just have no idea how a bunch of people are going to perform or even where they're going to play. And I mean, it makes it exciting in a way, I will admit, but it's also terrifying, right? Because if you can't get the chemistry right, or some of these guys like Kako, for example, doesn't perform, or Kravtsov isn't what we thought he is, this team is going to look a lot different than what we think it will be if your second line right wing or your top line right wing are not doing well. And you're right that in that situation, that would be an example of where you would then move Kreider to the right and put Lafreniere to the left. But it's just interesting. Like, we don't even definitively know the line combos tonight. I mean, it was kind of reported. There seems to be consensus among the beat reporters as to what it's going to be, with Kakko on the right on the top line and Kravtsov on the right with Panarin and Trocheck in the second line. But there's no definitive. I mean, it's amazing, right? I don't remember going into a season where it's like, I'm going to watch tonight. I'm going to be almost intrigued to see who's on what line. I don't remember ever having to do that on opening night. But
yeah, I think that's on that point. I think that the fans we always get wrapped up. All of us do it. Early in the season, we're like, oh, who's on what line? But come game 15, the lineup's going to look completely different. So we just kind of let it play out a little bit and see how the guys perform and who gels with who, and we'll see what happens.
And I know Big Ed is not a big Kravtsov fan. I remember from coming on your show. I remember he is not, buying stock in Vitaly Kravtsov. That I do know. All right, a couple prediction stuff for the Rangers. Who has a breakout year, an impressive year?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Kaapo Kakko. For some reason, I think with Kakko, he's been injury prone, if you want to say that, throughout his career so far. So he hasn't really had a chance to get a lot of games strung together to find his rhythm. But there's something, I think there's just a feeling I have with him getting scratched in game 6. He looks way different this preseason. Now, I said earlier, don't take a lot of stock in preseason, but I think that you do take stock in how the young guys are developing. You can see some different tendencies in their game. So with Kakko, what I saw is a guy who's faster and more decisive with the puck. I mean, he already has that defensive prowess, the back checking. He's got the board play. He's got strong edges. He had that already. Now, if he adds that speed element and being a little more decisive with the puck, that shot against the Islanders, that's a big play. Who cares about the score of that game? It's preseason. But that play, seeing that from Kakko, if he can bring that, I think there's a chance that he could push 20 goals. Now, without power play time, I think that's a pretty big statement. But if he can push 20 goals, 17, 18, 19, 20 goals with his defense, I think that this is a huge step towards him becoming, that Marian Hossa type player that I think fans are expecting. And I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to stay healthy and it's going to happen for him this year. I know the popular pick is Laffy and Miller, right? So
yeah, but I like that. I like your pick in the sense that if we're going to go on the consensus that he's going to play, at least to start with Zibanejad and Kreider, he's going to get an opportunity to put up points, and therefore he's going to have the opportunity to be the answer to that question is who has a breakout season, right? If he's putting up points, that's a breakout season. For me, I'm going to go Kakko. I'm with you, and I also like Kravtsov in that answer. Although I did see some people, because we put that question out to some people, say Philip Hedl. Not my favorite choice. I've never been a huge Hedl guy, but just giving you a couple different viewpoints. All right. So the opposite approach. Who has a disappointing season? Who at the end do we say, didn't love his game this season?
I think that is a tough question because obviously these guys, they have a lot of young players you want to take another step. So it's hard for me to sit here and say this is a guy who's going to have a disappointing season. I hope I'm wrong. But I do think there's a chance that fans are a little bit disappointed with Braden Schneider this year. I think Schneider came into the league 20 years old, steps into a third pairing role, and he just looked okay. He fit the part. He didn't make too many mistakes. When he did make a mistake, he didn't seem to have it linger and affect his game. He was able to recover, which is a very positive trait. Tons of high marks across the board, across the league. Everybody wants Braden Schneider, right? So I'm very high on Schneider, and I think he's going to be a great player. But I think there's a chance that, this year is a little bit of a reality check for him, and he might struggle a little bit. There might be times where fans are, disappointed with his play. And I think that's a common thing. We went through this with Keandre Miller, right? And he has that good rookie year. Everybody's like, wow, this guy's going to be a stud. He starts his second year, and everyone's like, oh, this guy should be in the AHL. He didn't get any seasoning. And now look at him. Everybody wants to sign him to an 8-year contract, right? So it's a normal process for a young player in their second year in the NHL to take a step back, and then it's going to be up to him to adjust to, the difficulties he faces and take that next step.
So that's a good answer for me, and I've debated on this question. I'm going to go Trocheck, and that's not to say he's going to have a terrible year. I just, he's going to have someone on the right in Kravtsov who it's just unknown, right? We don't know. He's coming into a line position where Strome was, where Panarin played really well with. So he doesn't have a lot of room to improve Panarin, right? I mean, Panarin had a great year. So, and Trocheck, again, he's a little older. I don't mind the signing at all. I think we may hate it in 4 or 5 years from now at the back end of the contract. But I'm going to go that and again, I'm like you, I don't want anybody to disappoint, but I'm going to answer the questions that we get submitted. I'm going to guess maybe it's Trocheck. Can you put up, Dougie, the first comment that someone just wrote in? Because I want to ask him about it, although it's a pretty straightforward thing. And it says, this is the Patty Kane episode. So another question that we got throughout the week. And last night I hosted an Instagram live, a preseason thing. And it was a very popular question I got last night that I feel like if you were on the Instagram live with me and you sat there, you heard me answer it 7 times. Like, where are you people not paying attention? Why do you keep submitting the same question? Patrick Kane, my viewpoint on this is that if he leaves Chicago, regardless of where he goes, maybe it's here or somewhere else, it's not going to be closer to until the deadline. I don't think it's anytime soon. But let me ask it to you this way. If Patrick Kane is available at any point, if Chris Drury gets a call from the general manager in Chicago, who has already traded Kirby Dach, and I'm trying to think of the other guy that he traded to, DeBrincat, went to Ottawa, right? So he's going to try to get rid of Patrick Kane. Do you want Patrick Kane on this team?
I really like Patrick Kane as a player. My only concern with Patrick Kane is what it's going to cost to get him and whether we could fit him under the cap, right? So those are the 2 parameters. So, I mean, look, Patrick Kane has a no trade clause and a no move clause. So he can decide where he wants to go. If he tells Chicago, I will only play for the Rangers, that might bring the cost down. But if you're telling me, I see these proposals on Twitter and social media. If you're telling me that, Chicago wants Dallas's first round pick, Kravtsov, a 3rd round pick, another prospect, like, no, I wouldn't make that trade. Right. Not for a rental in Patrick Kane, who the Rangers will not be able to re-sign. If you look ahead to the salary cap next year, there's just no chance that they can keep the band together and keep Patrick Kane. So you're pretty much burning all these assets, and they're going to need these young assets to come in at a low cap hit. But if you're telling me Patrick Kane costs a 2nd round pick and maybe, a Will Cooley and, a depth piece, and that's it, then sure, if they can fit him in at the deadline, I'm all in, but I'm not going to pay the high rental price for Patrick Kane that it probably will cost. I mean, that's just my position. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, go all in if you can." You never know, but it's a lot to pay.
Patrick Kane, also similar to Trocheck, is older, right? I mean, it doesn't mean he's not good. It doesn't mean he's not talented. But sometimes people have this vision where they imagine a player in his prime because that's what comes in their memory first, and that's not where he is at this stage in his career. All right, last question for you, and I think it's probably the hardest one. So last week, Dan Rosen, this is my question for you, so it's not. So I'll take the blame if this one's hard. Dan Rosen was with us last week, and I said, Dan, the Rangers had 110 points last year. Are we ending up above it or under it? I've said since we've started kind of talking about hockey about a month and a half ago that I think the Rangers will regress a little bit this year and go. That doesn't mean they're not making the playoffs, not capable of a deep run, but I don't know that they're going to get 110 points again. Dan Rosen was all in on 110 and above, so I hope he's right and I hope I'm wrong. Give me the over or under 110 points.
Yeah, I think they're going to be under. I'm with you. I think that we'll see a little bit of regression if we're being objective. Mainly because, last year had a lot of forces that came together to get those 110 points. And they were a little bit of I guess before the season, you would have called them a stretch, right? I mean, you would not have predicted Igor Shesterkin would have the year that he had. Yes, we all knew he was good, but he had an historic season. Chris Kreider had 50 goals. They were mostly healthy for the entire season. I mean, except for Sammy Blais. I feel like they were mostly healthy, Hedl in and out, whatever. It's unlikely that those things happen again. I mean, I think Pride will be, over 30. Is he going to get 50? Probably not. It's just, if Shesterkin has a 925 save percentage, how many more losses is that? So if you just take the 110 as the barometer and just regress the guys who overperformed last year just a little bit, I think that puts them under 110. But I do think they'll obviously be in a playoff spot in the Metro. And I think, in fairness, not to go off topic, but I do think Carolina got a little older and they might even take a step back.
Yeah.
So I think that we could still win the division.
Yeah, the division, and I said last year that I thought it was the best division going into the season. It's not as impressive as it was. It doesn't mean it's a stretch, right? I mean, Philadelphia could be absolutely awful. The Devils, I think, are better, but as Dan Rosen said last week, they had 60-something points. Even if they improve 20 points, it's still only an 80-point team, right? That would be a huge jump. The Islanders, didn't really do much to improve. They're not any better. Columbus got Johnny Gaudreau, but I'm not sure that how many, points in the standings that's going to equate for. Washington is older. It doesn't mean that they're, you leave Ovechkin alone now at the top of the circle, but they're older. Pittsburgh is older. It's not that the division is easy, because it's not, but you can get a lesser point total and finish first or second in the division, which may work well. And I hate to say this, but if you look historically at Gallant, this first year when he goes somewhere, we called it the Gallant bump when they hired him. And it was funny because at the time, Dougie Sticks over here made you remember doing this? That he made like a pregnant image of a Gallant bump. Now his wife is actually pregnant.
Yeah,
this was like a year ago. I don't even think you were married. But I worry about that as well. So I think they're coming in under 110. I think they may be closer to 100, but I still think they'll finish first or second. And look, if Igor Shesterkin in the first or second round is hot and playing well, they can go as far. I mean, there's nothing, they can win the cup. It's going to come down to Igor Shesterkin at that time, probably. So thank you for coming on. Again, we encourage you guys to check out their podcast. We'll put it up on the screen for those following the video feed. That is at Rangers_ed.pod. You can check them out. They have a very good Instagram page. They're kind of like us. They put clips up, so you don't have to sit here and sit through, 50 minutes of stuff to get content. Sometimes if you want a quick kind of stuff, they do a really, really good job. The way they talk to each other back and forth is really funny. So keep up the good work, Cousin Ed. Thanks for coming on, and let's go Rangers.
Hey, let's go Rangers. Thanks for having me on, Jeff. And
anytime. Dougie. We'll have you back on with the gang soon. So that is Cousin Ed of Rangers_ed.pod. So
nice.
Are you now? You came in here today.
Oh, yeah.
I have been working here with you for over 2 years. I have never once even remotely close seen you in anything hockey, let alone wear a Ranger jersey. So I was pleasantly surprised when you walked in here today. Matter of fact, I did a double take, because when you were over there and you came in, I didn't even think it was you. I just saw the shirt. What do you think? Your prediction?
Oh, we're going to win the Stanley Cup, bro.
I
knock on wood.
I figured you would say that.
We're going all the way, baby.
I figured you would say
all the way. And this is just the beginning. This is just the warm-up.
So I
got tons of more jerseys coming.
We could tell that story one day of you and your Ranger jersey buying in the last month. So I teased last night on this Instagram live that I did, where people were submitting questions about people want to know my prediction of the season. And I said, I'm not telling you here. I will make sure I say during the show tomorrow.
Leave one more.
So I'm going to give you my Ranger prediction for the season. Ranger prediction for the season, and then we'll shift to the NFL.
All right.
So I kind of gave you a little answer a minute ago. I don't think they're going to have as good of a year as they had last year. They do not. When you look at the year that they had, right, just based on that, there's not a lot of room to improve. There's a lot of room to go the other way. In some, doesn't mean you're going to go far the other way. There's just not a lot of room to improve on the year that you had. I think regular season wise, they will not have 110 points. As I said, I think they will see that having a backup goaltender in Yaroslav Halak makes a difference, not in a positive way. And as Dan Rosen said last week, that they are not going to play Shesterkin more than 60 games. So I think you lose some points there. I think Chris Kreider's not getting 50 goals again. I would be stuck. I mean, let me put it this way. We will get, if Chris Kreider gets 50 goals again, we will give away something free on this show from the Bamboozle Project. We'll do raffles for free gear or something, because I'm not confident that he's not going to do it. But I hope I'm wrong. I think Shesterkin has a very good year. I don't think he has the year that he had last year. I still think he may be good enough to win the Vezina. I think that Chris Kreider doesn't do what he does last year, but he'll still do well. I think you have to watch line pairings here. You could have a line chemistry that works. Injuries, as we know in the NHL, can happen at any time and screw everything up. I think I worry about that with some players like Sammy Blaze, who's now hurt again. second time. Kako has a history of being hurt, so I worry about that. I think they'll make. I mean, look, if I sat here and I told you I think they'll make the playoffs, you'll never listen to the show again because you're like, stop. Thanks for stating the obvious. But I don't think they're going to have as good of a regular season as they had. I am not here. They do not pay me money to just say, they're going to win the cup and everything's good. I'm here to give you my honest opinion. That's my honest opinion. But I will promise you this.
Yes.
Every week,
we
will follow this team, go game by game like we did last year, and follow the journey that hopefully leads us to a parade in the Canyon of Heroes in June, where we would be doing a live remote, I heard. Did I hear that right?
Absolutely.
I heard that last year was brought up. Yeah.
I'm down.
But they need to get there. And we'll be broadcasting from the Canyon of Heroes.
Okay. So we have the best goalie in the world.
Correct.
Now the kid line is now a teenager line.
Kid line is not the kid line anymore because Kako's moving up to the top line.
Okay, but I'm saying the kids are now teenagers.
See, the kids are not yes.
So now, they got a little experience. They got a little taste.
Mm-hmm.
It's up. We're going up, baby. We're going up.
I just want to say one last thing before we go to the NFL.
Yeah.
Please do not, if they play bad tonight on opening night.
Cry
again,
for the kids.
Right. And they're playing a good team, right? They're playing the back-to-back Eastern Conference champions. If they do not play well tonight, can we not tomorrow? Like, this is what happened last year. They opened in Washington last year, Gallant's first game, and they lost. I think it was 4-2 or something. And then they came home the next night for the home opener and lost to Dallas in overtime or in a shootout. They got a point out of it. And everyone was like, dude,
season's over.
What the heck is this? It's another season down the tube. Whatever happens tonight, if they look great, that doesn't mean they're going to look great for the next 81 games. And if they look bad, they're not going to look bad. It's one game. I understand, be excited. I'll be locked in tonight at 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be jazzed up. Look, I've been up since 1:30 in the morning for some stupid reason, excited for it. But just remember, it's one game.
Yeah.
All right? Let's shift to the NFL.
Gladly.
You wore your jersey. You fulfilled your quota. All right. So before we get to the picks, we have to say, this is not tooting our home because someone wrote to us about this.
Yeah.
When the Giants won week 1 in Tennessee,
yes,
there was a clip on Instagram of us that said, look at the Giants' next 4 games. At worst, they should be 3-2. But they could realistically be 4-1. We said it. It's on Instagram. Where are the Giants?
They're 4-1.
4-1.
You called it.
We had it right.
We called it.
You heard it here first.
I wish that was a bet.
I wish it was. I mean, I don't know that we would have
been
smart enough to do that.
Can you make that bet on DraftKings?
You know what? These days, you could probably make any bet on DraftKings.
Nice. Well, I got him going to the Super Bowl, $2K.
That's true. Right.
For $2,000.
You would be retired. There would be a new co-host. If the Giants beat the Bills in the Super Bowl, you're moving to Aruba or somewhere.
Yeah.
We'll never
take
see
a little
you
vacay.
again. A little vacay. 30-year vacay. All right. So, but let's talk about. I feel like for all the 2 years we've done this show,
yes,
and all of the crap that we have given the Giants and the Jets, I think it's fair that they deserve
both of them.
Both of them.
Both of them.
Let me start with the Giants. There is a clip, and I should have sent it to you yesterday.
Yeah.
That I think speaks exactly to Brian Dable and this culture.
Okay.
There is a clip of him. You can DM us and we'll send it to you. But it was on Giant Zone or something. Of Brian Dable coming off the field in London, screaming profanity in celebration.
Yeah.
That is what you want your coach. I don't give a crap what sport you play to be like, right?
Absolutely.
And Daniel Jones, and I have smashed this guy many times to the point where people said that, oh, what was my comment a year ago, if you remember, when I said that good athletes that come from Duke are only basketball players, which I didn't think was not racist by any means. It was a fact. But Daniel Jones, I'm going to say, has proven me wrong. And Saquon Barkley, who really, if you do fantasy football, was probably the biggest question mark. Like, where should he be taken? Is he healthy? Will he stay healthy? 5 weeks into the year has been good. The defense has been decent. They have basically no wide receivers that they're doing this with.
Dude, they stopped the Packers on the doorstep at the end of the game.
And they're 4-1.
And Danny's winning me over. So, he's definitely winning me over. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback of all time yet, but they're utilizing his strengths and they're not exposing his weaknesses. So, like, when the play breaks down, he's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's getting first downs.
He's doing what he needs to do. Now, is he the long-term answer for the Giants like the next 5 or 10 years? Probably not still. However, enjoy this, right?
Yeah.
New York football has been awful. Do I think either of them, and I'm sorry to tell you this, Doug, because I know you want the Giants to make the Super Bowl, are they probably either going to the Super Bowl? No, they're not. But one of them is 4-1. The other one is 3-2. If you're a New York football fan, usually by now they're 1-4 and you're calling for the coach's head, or you're looking at draft lottos trying to figure out, like we tried last year or 2 years ago with the Jets, if you remember, to figure out how they could beat Jacksonville to get Trevor Lawrence. How could they lose as many games as possible? That's usually what you're doing by now.
Yeah.
And if you're the Giants, you come home this week, you play Baltimore, who, by the way, both the Giants and the Jets were in my picks last week. I have them both in my picks again this week. We'll get to that in a minute. Wow. Their game. I'm not telling you when I'm picking. But, like you have the Ravens at home this week, which is not an easy game. However, the Ravens defense has been pretty darn suspect all year. The other night versus the Bengals was the first time that the defense showed up. And then I believe I'm going to pull it up here. Going forward, the Giants from there go to Jacksonville, which is a winnable game. Doesn't mean it's a guarantee.
Yeah.
It's a winnable game. They go to Seattle and Geno Smith is a winnable game. The Texans come to MetLife Stadium, who stink. The Lions come, who stink. I mean, the Giants, realistically, they have 4 wins. They can end up with 9 or 10 wins and get in as a wild card.
Yes, they can.
Look at the schedule.
Let's go.
The Colts come in.
Go.
They have to play the Commanders still twice, who are god-awful. And Carson Wentz stinks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, it's not a negative thing on the Giants, right? But like the schedule's helpful for them. Take advantage of it. Yeah. Other than playing the Cowboys again and the Eagles twice, and they got to go to Paul Farrington's Vikings. It's not a difficult schedule.
Vikings are sorry, Paul. I think the Vikings were fine with the Vikings. The Eagles still have to prove themselves a little bit. I know they're undefeated. I don't even know who they played, but I don't think it was like, what they didn't play like the Chiefs. They didn't play,
Well, the Eagles have been am I sold on the Eagles at 5-0? Do I think they're great? No, they're not. But you play who you play, right? Yeah. So you don't control your schedule. If you're the Jets, they're 3-2. The schedule gets a little bit harder. They go to Green Bay this week, but then they go to Denver, who's been bad. The Patriots come in. The Patriots have not been good. Then they got to play the Bills. That's a loss. But they play the Patriots again. They play the Bears, who are not good. They play the Lions. They play the Jaguars. They play the Dolphins the last week of the season. You don't even know if Tua's playing. There are opportunities in both New York teams' schedule to take advantage of winnable games, and at least, even if you don't make the playoffs, get some meaningful football here in late December. It would be a lot of fun for how bad both franchises have been. That's all I'm saying.
The Giant game against the Packers gave confidence to the Jets, who have to play the Packers next.
And that is a good segue into our week number 5 picks for Mind Your Fucking Business. Well done there.
Thank you.
You are a professional.
Oh, thank you.
I don't listen to the haters. So last week, and I already told you we had another winning week. That is 4 winning weeks and 1 losing weeks. Boom. In the last 2 years, we started out hot the same, and then it started to even out. So I feel like this is now that critical.
Don't even say that.
This is the critical point. So what did we have right last week? We had 3 games right. We had the Giants plus 7.5. Against the Packers in London. They won the game outright. The Jets, I told you it was plus 3 at home. It actually moved to plus 3.5. They didn't even have Tua. Now, granted, Bridgewater got hurt. That helped. But the Jets were the better team. We had that right. And I didn't want to do this, but I did it. And I said the Bills minus 14. I have no idea how Pittsburgh is going to score with that team. Mm-hmm. And the Bills can score 1 million points, and they won 38-3. So they actually had that game covered by mid-second quarter. That's how atrocious Pittsburgh is. Pittsburgh's terrible. Yeah. I mean, it's not on Tomlin, but like the time here may be ending. So we had those 3 right. The 2 that we had wrong, we had the Panthers plus 4.5 at home versus the 49ers. They were so bad, the Panthers, that they fired their head coach yesterday. That's how bad of a bet that was. So I'll tell you that. And then last night in a bizarre game, a Monday Night Football game, the Chiefs minus 6.5 at home versus the Raiders. They ended up being down a bunch, came back to win. Super questionable. Game. Yeah, questionable call. Game. Yeah, I don't know. So, but anyway, here are your week number 5 picks. Oh, wait, no, we're not week number 5. Number 6. Well, again, there's no season. I say this all the time. That goes as fast as the NFL season. All right, the week number 6 picks for the Mind Your Fucking Business podcast. I rode the Jets last week, plus 7.5 in Green Bay. Do I think they will win at an angry Green Bay team in Lambeau Field? No, I do not. But 7.5 is a lot of point, and I love the fact that they're getting that extra point, so they're covered by a touchdown. Give me the Jets plus 7.5 on the road. They're playing well. I'm not sold on the Packers. I wouldn't touch them on the money line, but for plus 7.5 and the way we do things around here, I'm taking them. The G-Men, the Giants plus 5 at home versus the Ravens. Here's why I like the Giants. The Ravens defense, I said before, has not been good. The Giants plus 5 at home. The crowd, they're 4-1, will be into it. It will be amped up. There's just I just don't see Brian Dable right now getting blown out. He's getting 5 points at home. I'm taking Brian Dable. I'm not taking the Giants at 5 points.
You're taking Brian Dable. Coach of the year. Year.
Not even close. And well, you know what? Sirianni in Philadelphia is 5-0. You can't tell me that it's a no-brainer. But I think yes, if I had a vote, it would be Brian Dable. I'm taking Brian Dable plus 5 at home versus the Ravens. The Pats, they played obviously a lot better this weekend. Was it the opponent that they played, Detroit? They're getting plus 3 in Cleveland. Cleveland, I just can't stand. They're so Jekyll and Hyde. I took them a week and a half ago in Atlanta. They couldn't cover 1.5. So I'm taking the Pats on the road, thinking maybe that they've discovered themselves. Cleveland's so inconsistent. I'm covered by a field goal. Give me the Pats plus 3 in Cleveland. Paul Farrington, you will like this. I'm taking the Vikings minus 3 in Miami. Well, they definitely don't have Tua. I don't know if Bridgewater's playing. The Vikings, if you're legitimate, and Dalvin Cook had a good game, Justin Jefferson woke up this last week. The weather down there is good, so it's not a weather factor with that passing game with Thielen and Kirk Cousins. You got to cover with 3 points against a Miami team that I don't think is that good. Mm-hmm. That kind of like now the cover's off on. I'm taking the Vikings minus 3 in Miami. And I do not normally like to take teams giving points on the road, but I like Vikings minus 3 in Miami. The last game, I'm taking the Panthers plus 11 at the Rams. It's a lot of points. Here's the trick here. Okay. You fired your coach. What usually happens when you have an interim coach or a new coach? The team bands around that, and they play for him, especially in the beginning. Mm-hmm. 11 points playing for a coach is a lot. Yeah. I'm taking the Panthers plus 11. I like that a lot. I don't like
playing against?
At the Rams. Who have not been good.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, very inconsistent.
Yeah.
So I'm taking the Panthers. So to recap, I'm taking the Jets plus 7.5 at Green Bay in Lambeau Field. I'm taking the Giants / Brian Dable plus 5 at home versus the Ravens. I'm taking the Pats plus 3 at Cleveland, the Vikings minus 3 down in sunny Miami, and the Panthers going cross country with a new coach getting 11 points at the LA Rams.
So I'm loving, first off, that New York has been in your picks almost every week. I'm loving it so much so. I'll tell you what I bet on this week. I bet on Sunday that every New York team would win. Giants won. Mm-hmm. The Jets won. I bet I was as a parlay.
Got it.
Giants, Jets.
Do you have the Mets in there? There you go.
So I was going to end with that.
Well, I didn't know what else. Well, what other New York teams are? Buffalo?
I took the Buffalo Bills, and I took the New York Red Bulls. All won. The New York Red Bulls won. The Bills won. The Jets won. The Giants won. Damn Mets let me down.
Did you create that one yourself, or was that one of like?
No, I created myself. Really? I was like, so it was in the morning. It was during it was right before the Packer game. And I was like, you know what? New York could win every one of these games. Every single one of them.
And the Mets let you down.
And the Mets let me down. It's like a $10 bet. It would have gave me like $150, and the Mets let me down. And now they're what? They're 0-2 in the playoffs right now.
Mets are done. Season's over.
Oh, it's one game. It's a
best of 3. They lost the decisive game 3, which I'm not upset about. But as I say on the show all the time, we don't cover baseball. We don't really touch. We'll touch like
learn my lesson.
we touch the NBA, and I'm a Yankee fan. I mean, it's not like I hate baseball. I'll watch tonight, but like I don't know enough about it. There's too much going on. Yeah. But we do cover basketball with the Knicks, and let's hope again. You don't buy into preseason. The Knicks have had 2 preseason games.
Yeah,
they've looked really good.
All right.
Again, preseason.
I don't even know who's on the team anymore.
They open a week from tomorrow, next Wednesday in Memphis, and they could be awful. Ja Morant could school them all night, and everything looks terrible. But for the time being, I'm optimistic.
Do we have a guy? Do we have any new players? Like what's going on over there?
Jalen Brunson. Not that exciting. They overpaid him.
All right.
Son of Rick Brunson, who used to coach NBA on the Knicks a long time ago. That's how you know you're getting old, when players that used to root for
kids
and have kids, and that kid is the free agent signing, the catch of the summer.
Yes, that's catch of the summer.
Getting old. We thank Cousin Ed at Rangers Ed podcast. We encourage you to check them out. Thank you to the Bamboozle Project as always. Again, use promo code MYPB. If you do check them out and get that winter hat, because it may not last, and you want it and they sell it so cheap, it's like ridiculous. Even if you hate Mind Your Fucking Business and you don't want to rip the
put it on backwards,
you'd be comfortable. That's that good of a hat. Matter of fact, I need to get one for my wife. I think we're gonna get a second one, so we don't have to share one because it's that comfortable. Allied Construction and Roofing, we thank them for their sponsorship as always. And that'll be a wrap. Enjoy opening night tonight. We will the Rangers will play 4 games by the time we're back on next Tuesday, so we'll kind of have some real analysis to do, and hopefully it'll be in a positive way. And last favor, I'm going to reiterate this. Do not overreact either way to opening night tonight. Do not go crazy if they look bad. Do not book your Stanley Cup parade tickets if they look good. Thanks for listening, and let's go Rangers.